Question 8, Part A. Greg and Jack are playing in a golf tournament. They will play 2 rounds and each has an equal chance of winning the first round. If Greg wins the first round, his probability of winning the second round is increased to 0.6. If Greg loses the first round, his probability of winning the second round is reduced to 0.3. Part 1. Draw a tree diagram for the 2-round sequence. Label each branch of the diagram with the appropriate probability. I've drawn a 2-stage probability tree diagram where the first stage represents the result of playing the first round of the game and the second stage represents the result of playing the second round of the game. Now in the first round of the game, it is given that there's an equal chance of either Greg or Jack winning. So the probabilities on each of the branches are 0.5 and 0.5. Notice that the sum of the probabilities in each stage must equal 1. Now if Greg wins the first round, the probability that Greg wins the second round is increased to 0.6. By the law of complements, that means that the probability of Jack winning the second round if Greg was to win the first round is reduced to 0.4. Again, 0.6 plus 0.4 equals 1, and the sum of the probabilities must equal 1. Now if Jack was to win the first round, the probability that Greg wins the second round is reduced to 0.3. Again, by the law of complements, the probability that Jack wins the second round is increased to 0.7. Part 2. Find the probability that Greg wins exactly 1 round. Looking at the tree diagram that we drew in Part 1, out of the 4 outcomes, there are 2 outcomes that show Greg winning exactly 1 round. Either Greg wins the first round and then Jack wins the second round, or Jack wins the first round and then Greg wins the second round. And I've marked those 2 outcomes with an asterisk. Now looking at the solution, the probability that Greg wins exactly 1 game is equal to the probability that Greg wins the first round and then Jack wins the second round, plus the probability that Jack wins the first round and then Greg wins the second round. So multiplying along the relevant branches of the tree diagram, we have 0.5 times 0.4 plus 0.5 times 0.3, and that equals 0.35 or 35%.